Hi, good afternoon, everyone. We at Invent Model, my team members, Dhiren sir, Sujit sir, and my rest of the team over here. So, we are going to discuss some more topics on Informatica MDM Cloud SaaS. So, the agenda for the today's discussion is REST API in MDM SaaS, the installation and configuration of the Postman. So Informatica MDM Cloud SaaS, it supports the REST APIs for interacting with master data entities and also the workflows and for different other process. These APIs are part of Informatica, that is the IDMC, and it allows us to perform the different operation, that is the CRUD operation, that is create, read, update, and delete operations, and various trigger business process. So here is a basic overview of how the REST API works in Informatica MDM Cloud SaaS. So first is authentication. Informatica MDM Cloud uses OAuth 2.0 for authentication. So this we have to remember that it uses OAuth 2.0. Now second is what is the base URL? So the base URL for REST API. So we have the base URL as well. So here we have certain information that we have given, that what is a REST API. Let's say you are trying to find videos about something on YouTube. You open up YouTube and you type Batman into a search field because you are wanting to have information on Batman, and you hit enter. So you see a list of different videos about Batman. Now, how the REST API works? So, how it works is you search for something and then you get a list of results. So, in the similar way, the previous example that we have given. So an API, what is an API? It is application programming interface. So it is a set of rules that allow the programs to talk to each other. Like if we integrate some applications, so that is application programming interface through which we integrate the applications. The developer creates the API on the server and allows the client to talk to it. So there is a request and response method that is there. That is, the client would send a request and the server would send a response. So the rest determines how the API looks like. It stands for representational state transfer. So this is the full form of REST API. Now, REST determines how the API looks like. So it stands for, like we have already defined the full form of REST. It is a set of rules that developers follow when they create their API. So APIs can be of multiple types. We have REST API, we have SOAP API. So we have different APIs. So here we are using an Informatica MDM Cloud SaaS, we are using the REST API. Now each URL is called a request. That client sends the request and each URL is called a request. So while the data sent back to you is called a response, and response is being sent from the server. So what is the method? Now there are different types of request, that is get, post, put, patch and delete. So get is for the request, post is for the response, put is for the updation, and put and patch works like similar way, and delete is for the, as the name suggests, for deletion of the response. Now these methods provide the meaning for the request you are making, so they help us to perform the various actions, that is CRUD operations basically. Now in detail when we discuss, so get, what it does is this request is used to get a resource from a server. So it would actually want to acquire a resource from a server. So this is the request that is being made from a server. Now post is the response that it would get. This request is used to create a new resource on a server. So if you perform a post request, the server creates a new entry in the database and tells you whether the creation is successful. So when it is telling that the creation is successful, so basically it is a response that we are getting, that the client is getting basically. So in other words, a post request performs a create operation. Now put and patch. So these two requests are used to update a resource on a server. If you perform a put or patch request, the server updates an entry in the database. So this is like the updation basically. That is the update operation that is happening out of the CRUD operation. Now, last is delete. So this request is used to delete a resource from a server. So this is the basically the last of all the CRUD operation, that is the delete operation. Now here we have certain difference between the REST API version 2 and REST API version 3. So the format here, it is pretty different. Version 2 supports the XML and JSON calls, and version 3 it just supports JSON calls. So now we are going to discuss more about installation of the Postman, and I would like to invite Dhiren sir to help us throw some light on installation of Postman. Thank you.
Thanks, Pratiksha. So, means how we can install the Postman and how we use the Postman, we will discuss on this, and later on we will discuss how to configure this. So, to install the Postman and configure it for the interacting with like Informatica Cloud SaaS, first we can download the Postman from the Postman websites. Then use Postman to send REST API request to the our cloud SaaS. So we can follow the certain step to do that. So first is like download. How we can download? So we can download this Postman from the Postman website. We can go and based on our requirement, like if it is for Linux, we can use the Linux installer, or if it is Mac OS or Windows. So based on our need, we can download that version, and for the installation, once the download is done, we can click on this the installer and then follow the instructions which is present on the screen, and then it will download the software in your local machine. So basically, the installation part is very easy. It means like just we can click next, and this will get installed. Then once the installation is done, we can open the Postman and then we can sign in, or we can create an account. Though it is optional thing, but for our cloud, we need to do the sign in so that we can do the configuration and syncing of our collections and environment across the devices. So the then second step is how to configure Postman for a cloud SaaS. So, familiarizing yourself with the REST API, including their endpoints, request methods like get, post, put, delete, required headers, and request response format. Next, next slide. Okay, so create a new collection. So in a Postman, once we logged in, we can create a new collection. So new collection is nothing but it is the provided. So we need to get this collection from the Informatica for this our Business 360 Cloud SaaS, so that we can import this. So to import this, we can click on this create new collection, and then from there will be the import options. Choose that, and then we can choose that respective collection for the Business 360, and then we can import it. So once this import is done, add request. So then add request, right? For each API endpoint, you want to test create a new request within the collection. Then we need a configure request details. So in configure request details, we have certain things to follow, like method. Select the appropriate HTTP method, e.g. get, post, based on our need. Then we need to enter the URL. So enter the full URL of the Cloud SaaS API endpoint. So this URL actually doesn't work straight away. We need to like do some modifications on it, so that this MDM can understand this. And then we have the headers. Add any required headers such as content type, accept, and authorization. So in the header, we need to you put these things like content type, accept, and if there are any authorizations need to pass. And also we need to pass the latest session ID. So we need to get the session ID and then pass the session ID, because this is important for the login, connecting to the server. And this session ID is from the server where we are sending the request, right? So this we need to pass every time, because it is only valid for 30 minutes. So after 30 minutes this session gets expired automatically, whatever session we get. So means like every time when we are doing we are using the Postman, after 30 minutes we have to change this session ID. So in the body, we can request require a body like each if our post output specify the data format is JSON and the data itself. So in the body, we can pass these things. In the authorization sections, if the API requires authorization, configure the appropriate authorizations method like basic auth or OAuth, and provide the necessary credentials if required. Next. So environment variables, basically this is optional. And then we have a send request. So we can once these things are set up, we can click on the send button to send the request to the customer 360 or business 360 from where we want to get the details. And then once this request is sent, we will get the response back. And there, once we get the response back, we can look for the success or failure. So if server has responded properly and we have passed the correct parameters, values, and URL and the user login and password details properly, we will get the response back. And whatever operations we have requested back, we will retrieve it. So, so we need to examine the response header and body to verify that the request was successful and retrieve any data from the API. So here we have like to get session ID using login API v3, submit the following post request with your credentials, which we talked in the previous slide. So we can pass these in the post, we can pass this URL and then your user ID and credentials. So it will return you the session ID, which we will be passing in the header section, right? And then here we have a search request. So suppose if I want to read any data from the customer 360, we can go on the search request, right? Search request option, and from there we can we can pass this. If you see here under the body, we can pass the entity. In this case, we are saying C360.person. So means like the entity name called person will be retrieved. Entity called a person data will be retrieved here. Once we will send this request. So basically it connect to the customer 360. It will search the data from the person entity, and it will fetch back the data. Also we have a max record, right? So if we want to limit the records number, we can here specify those how many records we want to fetch here. And bottom section we can see this we have the data in the form of JSON, and all those records whatever returned from the customer 360 is came back here as a response. So move on to the next slide. So MDM SaaS REST API, actually MDM SaaS has following REST API. Today we learned about the search API only. In the previous slide I shown how we can search the entity. One more thing I wanted to tell in the previous slide, like if we are taking the data from the like custom entity, we need to pass that entity in the without the C360 because 360 is made for the out of box entity. So if we want to get the data from the any custom entities, we don't need to specify this 3 C360 dot. Only we can pass that entity name, so it will give you the response back. Next slide. Okay. So means MDM says REST API has the following options like search API, business entity record API, source record API, relationship API, merge API, and merge API, search match API. So we can perform these operations. Today we learned only the search API, the remaining API we will be learning in the subsequent lectures and the like slides PPT in the later tomorrow and after that. So this is what we had today. Thank you.